Rudy, let's begin with, we got to start by talking about Mark Carney. I want to know what you thought about him going on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. And also, we learned this afternoon, we were talking with CTV correspondent in Ottawa, that he is going to announce next week. That's not the surprise. I understand that he's going to be announcing in Alberta, which seems a bit of a surprise. What's your take on that?
First, on Alberta, you have to know that actually Mark Carney grew up in Alberta. So I think that he wants to change the image that, he's a banker and he's part of, Toronto elite or anything.
Okay.
So I think that's basically part of, a strategy of announcing in Alberta, telling people about his roots in Alberta. Because the reality is that both Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney have some very strong roots in Alberta. Also, Ms. Freeland was born in Alberta. But at the same time, I will tell you another thing, which is Stephen Harper was born in Ontario. Jason Kenney was born in Ontario, but both of them are linked to Alberta. So it doesn't matter, where you're born. It's a question of, how people perceive you. And I believe that, yes, maybe it's a good move to go and say, hey, I'm from Alberta. But I don't think that if we do a little poll in the street, people will say, oh, yes, Mark Carney is a real Albertan and, with a hat or anything. So I think it's just to kind of do a little difference between Justin Trudeau and himself, telling in a way that he's a grassroots.
What did you think of the appearance last night on The Daily Show? Because, first of all, I will tell you, for me, my opinion is obviously not important here, but I thought it was great to see him. I think I learned a lot more about Mark Carney as a person yesterday in terms of temperament, personality than I had up until now. But some people are calling him out for having gone on American TV first before he did anything in Canada. Is that fair?
Look, I think it's half-half because I think it was a great interview, a good interview. I think he was able in a way to make fun and obviously to again say that no, we're not going to become the 51st state. So I think it was good to again tell that message in the U.S. So and he did it in a way that was also very funny. But at the same time, yes, I do believe that sometimes, and even if I would talk to some friends in Ottawa, some journalist friend in Ottawa, they would say, hey, how come he doesn't do a full interview in Canada about what he wants to do? So look, I think it was just the first phase of his candidacy. We'll see what's going to happen and what's going to be his message when he's going to be in Edmonton for his official launch. But the most important thing that I'm going to look at when he's going to announce, and I'm going to do the same thing for Chrystia Freeland, is how many MPs are going to stand behind him when he's going to make his announcement, because those are very critical element of a race. Don't forget that it's a very, very short race. It's only until March 9th. So if you have people supporting you, you have to straight out of the gate to show that you have support of obviously many MPs, and that will be the interesting part to see how many MPs are really standing behind Mr. Carney when he's going to make his announcement, and if Chrystia Freeland, who's supposed to announce before January 20th, before the inauguration of Mr. Trump, if she has a bigger or a smaller number, for example, member of parliament supporting her.
So this is not about caucus members. You're just talking about Liberal members, party members.
No, I'm really talking about member of parliament, because don't forget, Mr. Carney said that he's going to announce, but there were some rumors that he already has 30 members of caucus, of the Liberal caucus. So it will be interesting to see who are those members, where are they located, because don't forget that you need to sell and to have people supporting you in every part of the country. So it's a question of having, an MP from British Columbia, from Quebec, and all over the place, because you need them on the ground to make sure that people vote for you.
The other issue here, I'm glad you brought up the Quebec element, because today we found out that François-Philippe Champagne has decided not to run. People talk about needing a candidate from Quebec or someone who speaks French very, very well. That being important. Well, he would seem to me to be the last Quebec-related candidate, and he says he's not interested. So did Christy Clark today. So what do you make of that?
Look, it's François-Philippe Champagne added his name to the long list of ministers who are not running. We spoke about Dominique Leblanc. We spoke about Mélanie Joly. Now François-Philippe Champagne. Look, the interesting thing is that, yes, Quebec is very important for the Liberal Party, and who is François-Philippe Champagne going to support? That's the next question. And when he's going to say if he has, a preference between Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney. I think it will come obviously at a later date, but that will be very important. And if some people that are supporting or who wanted, for example, François-Philippe Champagne to run, And I know that there's a lot of people who made calls. Who are they going to support after, now that he's not running? Is it going to be the people? Are they going to turn their support to Mrs. Freeland or Mr. Carney? That's the big question. And now Christy Clark is not running. But Christy Clark, to be honest, I mean, Friday, it was a very, very difficult day for Christy Clark because she did an interview in English and she was asked specifically, do you have a membership of the Conservative Party of Canada? And she denied it, despite the fact that when there was a leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada, she said out publicly and in the news that she was supporting Jean Charest, that she was going to vote and she was going to have a membership. So I think that it was basically a very bad move to basically lie about it or not say the truth. And this morning we learned that she's not running. She does say that now her French is not as good as she needs to run for leadership. But I don't think it was the problem. It was more the problem last week than her French. And just to finish on the French, what will be very, very interesting, I don't know if it's going to be Chrystia Freeland or Mark Carney who's going to win this race. But when we're going to have a general election, some people are saying that maybe Pierre Poilievre is more fluent than Mark Carney or Chrystia Freeland, which would be a first that a conservative leader, I mean, since Brian Mulroney, for example, is more fluent than, for example, a liberal leader.
Yeah. So we've mentioned some of the people who are out of the race. I have a question with respect to Karina Gould. So it would seem to me now, if we're kind of, handicapping the favorites here, Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, that's a given, right? Two high-profile personalities. Why? Karina Gould said today she is, in fact, going to announce. I think she said she's going to announce within the next few days. I kind of wonder in the back of my mind, why would you bother when you know these other two people, much higher profile, and considering all the people who have dropped out, why you think she was running and what kind of a chance you have, or she has, rather?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because don't forget that it's a preferential ballot. So you do pick the number one, but you pick the number two or the number three. So if Karina Gould is able to recruit a lot of members or have a bit of support when she's not going to, have enough votes and she's going to be eliminated, the people who voted for her, who did they put on number two or number three? And that would be a key question. Look, I think that Karina Gould comes from Ontario. I think her father is a dairy farmer and, she maybe wants to put forward a little bit more, regional aspect of the Liberal Party. Also, maybe she's just preparing for the future. If you're running, at least you'll have a lot of exposure.
Right.
Maybe that she's thinking that in the future it will help. It will help her.
If you were going to handicap this race as it stands right now, who do you think wins?
Look, for the moment, I believe that it's advantage for Mark Carney, just on the fact that he wasn't a cabinet minister. Yes, he was an advisor to Justin Trudeau in a way for the Liberal Party, and I know that the Conservative are going to say that he was an advisor to Justin Trudeau, but he wasn't in cabinet. So it will be, he's able to say, look, I would have done things differently, which is not what Chrystia Freeland can say. And that's a big handicap because if for example, in a debate, it will be interesting to see if Mr. Carney says, look, I would have done this differently, which Chrystia Freeland, she's stuck with Justin Trudeau in terms of everything that she did or that Justin Trudeau, it was a tandem. So that would be very difficult for her. And even if she wins, don't forget that the Conservative will press very hard on that, saying, look, you were part of the government, you were the finance minister, you were responsible. Yes, Justin Trudeau is gone, but you were the number two, so you did approve that.
All right, and that's where we leave it. Rudy, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.